You know, when we talk about India's fight for independence, a few giant names always come to mind. But what about the ones who fought the battle from thousands of miles away, deep in enemy territory? Today, we're diving into the story of one of those key figures, Bhikaji Cama. People call her the mother of the Indian Revolution, and trust me, her story is just an incredible lesson in courage, defiance, and a non-stop fight for freedom.
Okay, just picture this. It's 1907. You're at a huge international conference filled with delegates from all over the world. Suddenly, this lone Indian woman walks onto the stage and says that. Whoa. This wasn't just a speech, you guys. This was a declaration of war against an entire empire, and she sealed it by unfurling a flag that would go down in history.
So who was this woman, right? How does someone born with a silver spoon in her mouth with all the comfort and privilege in the world become a wanted revolutionary operating in exile right under the nose of the British Empire? That's the incredible story we're getting into today. To really understand the revolutionary she became, we've got to go back to the beginning. We need to see the world she came from. A world of, immense privilege, but also one that was about to be rocked by a crisis that would totally change her life and give her purpose. So, Bhikaji Cama was born into the absolute upper crust of Bombay society in 1861. Her father was a big-shot merchant and lawyer, and she went to a top-tier school. I mean, by all accounts, her life was pretty much set. A comfortable, quiet existence was all but guaranteed. Or so it seemed. And this is where things get really interesting. She marries Rustam Cama, another wealthy lawyer, but there was one, tiny problem. He was very pro-British. He thought British rule was a good thing for India. She, on the other hand, was becoming a passionate nationalist who believed India had to be free. Can you just imagine the dinner table conversations in that house? This massive divide in what they believed basically pushed her out of a traditional home life and into public work.
And then came the turning point. In 1896, the bubonic plague just ripped through Bombay. But Cama didn't hide in her mansion. No, she jumped right into the chaos, volunteering as a nurse to take care of the sick. In a really cruel twist, she ended up catching the plague herself. And while she survived, it left her incredibly weak. So in 1902, her doctors sent her to London for treatment. Little did they know they weren't sending her to a hospital to recover. They were sending her straight into the heart of the revolution.
So, London was supposed to be about healing, right? Well, it ended up being her political boot camp. This is where she walks right into the epicenter of the Indian independence movement brewing abroad. And at the absolute center of this new life in London was a place called India House. Now, this was no ordinary student dorm. Think of it as the nerve center, the secret headquarters for Indian revolutionaries in Europe. It was founded by this guy, Shyamji Krishna Varma, and it was a total beehive of radical ideas and plans for complete independence. And just look at the people she was hanging out with. She started off working with more moderate guys, but she was quickly pulled into the orbit of the more militant nationalists at India House. We're talking firebrands like Veer Savarkar and Lala Hardayal. This is where she made the jump from protesting to full-blown revolutionary action. I mean, this timeline just shows you how fast everything happened. Think about it. She gets to London in 1902 as a patient. By 1905, she's a key player at India House. And just 2 years after that, she's on her way to Germany to take the world stage and make history. It's an incredible transformation. All right, this brings us to the moment, the one act she is most famous for. A single act of pure defiance that blasted the question of Indian independence onto the global stage. So the date is August 22nd, 1907. The place? The International Socialist Conference in Stuttgart, Germany. The hall is packed, over 1,000 people from everywhere. Cama gets up, and she just gives this fiery speech, calling out the British for the famines and exploitation that were destroying her country. But her words? They were just the warm-up act. And then she unfurls this, the flag of Indian independence. Let's break this down for a second, because the symbolism here is just genius. This wasn't some random design. No, every single detail was a message. The stripes of green, saffron, and red stood for Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism. Those 8 stars, they represented the 8 major provinces of British India. The sun and the crescent moon showed unity between Hindus and Muslims. And right there in the middle, Vande Mataram, Mother, I bow to thee, the rallying cry of the movement. It was literally a vision of a united, free India on a piece of fabric.
And here's why that was such a huge deal. It was a historic first. Never, ever before had a flag for an independent India been raised on an international stage. With that one move, she turned a colonial struggle into a global fight for human rights. It was a total game changer.
Okay, so after shaking things up so spectacularly in Stuttgart, London was way too hot for her. British intelligence was watching her every move. So what's a revolutionary to do? She relocates. She moves to Paris and basically sets up shop, creating a new European HQ for the independence movement. Her house in Paris became the new hub. She co-founded the Paris Indian Society, which was a safe haven for other exiles. She was publishing and smuggling banned newspapers back into India. She was bankrolling revolutionaries, building alliances all over Europe. And in the process, she earned the name that stuck with her forever, the Mother of the Indian Revolution.
But what happens to a woman who gives her entire adult life to a cause she can only fight for from thousands of miles away? Let's take a look at her final years and the powerful legacy she left behind.
After 33 long, hard years in exile, her health started to fail. She had a stroke that left her paralyzed, and she had one last wish: to go home. The British government said yes, but on one unbelievably cruel condition. She had to sign a paper promising to stop all political activities. The revolutionary had to basically renounce her entire life's work just to die on Indian soil. She returned to Bombay in 1935 and passed away only 9 months later. But even though she never got to see a free India with her own eyes, her legacy is absolutely undeniable. You can see it today. She's been honored on postage stamps, there's a Coast Guard ship named after her, and she donated her entire estate to help orphaned girls. But maybe the most powerful thing? That original flag she raised in Stuttgart? It's still here, preserved in a library. A real, tangible piece of her incredible spirit of defiance. Bhikaji Cama's story really makes you wonder, doesn't it? For every famous leader we learn about in school, how many others like her fought just as hard from the shadows? How many of their stories are just waiting to be told? It's a powerful reminder that the story of freedom is always, always written by more hands than we remember.